You know that feeling when you buy an online course full of ambition, telling yourself, this is it, I'm going to learn this thing, and then a year later it's just sitting there gathering digital dust?
Oh, I think everyone has a graveyard of those. It's the modern equivalent of buying a treadmill that just ends up being a very expensive clothes hanger.
Exactly. Well, we're looking at a story today about an engineer who did just that with the AWS Solutions Architect exam for a full year. But then they flipped a switch and passed it in a brutal 5-day sprint. The trick wasn't suddenly finding motivation, it was just booking the exam and creating a hard deadline.
It's a bold move. But honestly, for experienced DevOps folks, it's the only way to beat the tutorial hell trap where you keep relearning things you already do at work every day. That deadline is the catalyst.
Right? But it wasn't just the deadline. The real aha moment seems to be the filtering strategy. Instead of watching all 28 hours of video, they surgically targeted only the topics they were fuzzy on.
That's the key. The so what here is that certification isn't about relearning EC2 for the 100th time. It's about identifying that 20% of the syllabus, like specialized storage gateways or complex networking, that you just don't touch in your daily job. The exam fee basically forced them to be efficient.
So the schedule was set and the content was filtered. But as the practice tests started, things didn't exactly go smoothly. In fact, the first scores were pretty disastrous.
I'm not surprised at all. That's usually where the real learning starts.
Well, even with all that hands-on experience, the author initially failed their practice sets with scores in the low 50s. They realized the problem wasn't the tech, but the terminology specifically missing what they call trap words like least, minimum, or not.
This is the biggest hurdle for pros. It's a classic mistake. In the real world, we build what's best, most resilient, most scalable. But in the exam, you have to build what's cheapest, or requires the least code change, because that's what the question specifically demands. It's a completely different mindset.
Interesting. It sounds like they developed a specific elimination strategy where they could immediately toss out 2 of the 4 options just by looking for those keywords.
That's the connecting the dots moment. The exam stops being a test of your cloud knowledge and becomes a logic puzzle. If you see real time, your brain should immediately think kinesis. If you see decoupling, you think SQS. Once you start mapping those keywords to specific services, you're not guessing anymore. You're decoding.
Once that code was cracked, the score soared. But there are still some pro tips and final hacks that push the final score to an impressive 863.
The administrative hacks. The final 10% of the grade is always in the details.
To wrap up, the author credits this high score to a few final tips. Using the ESL plus 30 rule for extra time, finding 50% off coupons, and staying active in communities like Reddit for the latest exam tips.
Let me stop you there. That extra 30 minutes is a total game changer. It's not even about being a non-native speaker. These scenario questions are long paragraphs of text. Having that extra breathing room prevents the panic skimming that leads to missing those keywords we just talked about. It's a strategic advantage.
Exactly. It's about working smarter, not just harder. So for anyone aiming for that 2025 certification, could you recap the main takeaways from this whole approach?
Absolutely. First, don't wait to feel ready. Just book the exam 15 days out to force yourself into action. Second, be ruthless with your study time. Focus only on the 20% of services you never use. Third, and this is critical, treat it like a keyword hunt. The words high availability and cost optimized point to completely different correct answers. Also, if you're eligible, request that ESL 30-minute extension. And finally, when you take practice tests, spend more time reading the explanations for why an answer is wrong than celebrating the ones you got right. That's where you truly understand the AWS way of thinking.